Welcome to the next episode of the Fantasy Pints Podcast. Recording this intro the day after England beat Germany.
What a day it is.
It feels brilliant, doesn't it?
Still not over it. Watched it. I was going to say I watched it with the boys in the pub. The boys who I did not know, but I didn't. I actually watched it in my hotel room and then went down to the pub afterwards and joined the boys and watched the first half of Sweden, Ukraine with them instead. I don't know who they were. I think they were from Yorkshire somewhere based on their accents. Nice fellas. Big group of them.
Big Calvin Phillips fans, I imagine. So football's looking good. We had a week off last week because you've been hectic.
Some technical difficulties based on hotel Wi-Fi from last week meant that this week's podcast was quite a difficult edit, and I just didn't have time to get my head into it. So it was my fault. I do apologise.
Yeah, but we did obviously record it last week with Ben Nichols, the ASMR gamer, who I coincidentally bumped into last night as I was leaving the pub. He was walking around. He was walking around the corner and wasn't best pleased that we were at the pub without him. So
I can imagine. Well, you are only a friend of a friend, as we'll soon find out.
I believe, like Ben, we are friends, and that's why I do intend to watch the quarterfinal with Ben.
Excellent. Where's my invite?
You'll be down in London, no doubt, or performing a gig somewhere.
What, on Saturday?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be watching it in some random person's house in Widnes. I've got a gig, house party. So, and then I'll be flying over to Macauley's with the second half on the radio to get over there to start at full time.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed that they do the job. Should be a nice route to the final, but don't want to speak too soon. Let's just let it happen.
Let's try and guess the route. Let's do that. That should be fun. So we've obviously got Ukraine in the quarters. Who do you think's winning out of Czech and Denmark?
I think Denmark will win that, and then I'll be quite nervous going into the semi-final against Denmark because there's quite a big story about them. They're quite everyone's second team really now at the minute.
My second team, to be honest.
But obviously I hope we batter them in the semi-final. But we'll see. I don't want to make this has been such an unpredictable tournament. I'm just going to let it happen, enjoy it,
and that's why this is fun to look back on in 2 weeks' time and see if we were right. So we think we're going to beat Ukraine. What score? Assuming we win this tournament, let's guess our route to victory.
1-0 against Ukraine, a boring 1-0, and Raheem Sterling scores.
I think so too, but I'm going to say Kane. Nice. And then we think Denmark in the semi-final. I'm going to say 2-1.
2-1, Denmark. I'm going to go for a boring 1-0, Raheem Sterling.
And then the other side of the tournament's quite interesting, isn't it? You've got Switzerland, Italy, Belgium, and Spain.
Yeah, Belgium are quite high odds. I noticed on the thing. I think people think they're getting a bit tired and they've got a couple of injuries, but I still think they'll be in the final. I think it'll be England-Belgium final, and I'll take a boring 1-0 with a Raheem Sterling goal.
They weren't overly impressive against Portugal, although they did win. So
yeah, but. Anyway, shall we delve into this week's guest?
Let's do it. You've already mentioned who we have.
I've mentioned him. Yeah, I've not really described him, but for anyone that doesn't know what ASMR is, you're about to. It's we'll let Ben describe. He's a YouTuber with 74,000 subscribers, and he's about to tell us about his little journey.
Yeah, he's a friend of Sean's prior to the podcast, and now by proxy, also a friend of mine. So let's get him in.
And we're joined this week by a special guest. You could call him a YouTube sensation.
Oh.
Known as the ASMR gamer on YouTube, Ben Nichols. How are you doing?
Yeah, good, thank you, mate. An absolute pleasure and a privilege to be on. Thanks for having me.
No worries.
Thanks for joining us, mate. I wasn't sighing at Sean describing you as a YouTube sensation. I was sighing at the pun because Sean explained to me before we started that he was going to say sensation because the word sense is
Yeah, it's
loosely
within
related to
ASMR. Yeah. No, it's cracking. I enjoyed it.
Ben
I loved it.
Not one of his best. Not one of his best. You don't have to stroke his ego, mate.
No.
Well,
How are you?
If that's sort of like the baseline, it can only go up. Yeah, good. Thanks, mate. Yeah. Like I say, I always enjoy coming on sort of podcasts, whether my own or guesting one. It's always quite exciting. Chat to new people. So yeah, all good.
Yeah, and we do know each other, don't we, Ben? We have a mutual friend, and obviously we went to see the Strokes together in London. A memorable weekend.
I would have said we are friends, Sean. Not necessarily just a mutual friend. I would have said you and I are actually friends, but maybe I'm stretching there.
I'm going for how we met. Well, we're in the same family, so we've got to be friends, haven't we?
Yeah. Very close, yeah.
No, but yeah, we met watching the Strokes. I knew of you before because I knew that Jake had a friend who was quite big on YouTube and did this ASMR stuff, and I'd never heard of ASMR beforehand. So there might be people listening to this who haven't heard of it. So could you sort of describe what it is?
Yeah, absolutely. I think saying big on YouTube is a bit of an overstatement, but yeah. So
80,000 subscribers, Ben, nearly.
Technically 74, but we're pushing on. We're pushing on, mate. We're pushing on. Yeah. So ASMR stands for Autonomous Sensory Meridian Response, and you'd be forgiven for thinking, what is that? And basically, it's a sort of a subtype of YouTube video, which is sort of like designed to sort of help you sort of like relax and unwind. But ASMR itself denotes a sort of like pins and needles sort of tingling sensation, and that can sort of be in the back of your scalp, or just this like really relaxing euphoric sensation you can get in your body in response to certain audio stimuli, like speaking softly or tapping on stuff. You'd be forgiven if you thought it's a little strange just off the back of that description.
No, but it's. Am I right in thinking that it's probably a feeling that everyone has had at some point, but they've just not been. They don't really know what it is.
Yeah, quite possibly. Over the last sort of, I'd say about 10 years, it's sort of really grown in sort of popularity. It used to be like a really, really niche, small subset community on YouTube, and now it's actually quite, I'd say, relatively mainstream. You've got ASMR channels with like millions of subscribers. You've got celebrities doing ASMR videos. So it's something that's actually far more common in the population than you probably think, but it's not necessarily spoken about, or like I say, the person might not know they have it if they're not come across it before. So
were you before sort of the curve? When did you first get into it in terms of starting the YouTube account?
So I started in 2014. That's when the channel launched. At that point, ASMR was sort of on the starting to sort of like rapidly sort of grow. I sort of started the channel just before the big growth spurt. And I came across it quite by sort of happenstance. I was just watching like tech videos on YouTube, and I came across this one video by a channel I watched, and it had this prefix of ASMR. And I was like, what's that? That seems a bit strange. And so clicked on it, and it was like this sort of like what's called like a flip through. So he was going through like a magazine or like a game strategy guide, and just sort of going through in like quite this sort of hushed sort of soft tones and stuff. And I was immediately hit with this sort of like really relaxing, sort of quite a calming feeling. And it was like quite strange. But then of course, you fall down a rabbit hole whenever you look up something on YouTube, and obviously all your related videos had this ASMR prefix, and I just kept watching and was like, hey, I'll give this a go. And so started in 2014, and really the idea behind it was, at the time there weren't many channels that was ASMR but also did like gaming content or tech content, and so I thought try create the content that I wanted to see. And so that's really sort of how it came about. But yeah.
I did not know that ASMR was a thing in 2014. Sean, for context, Ben, I don't know how old you are, mate, but for context, Sean, we were 19 in 2014, so we'd not long finished college. And I don't even think I even saw the word until probably 3 years ago. So that's just blown my mind that it was a thing as far back as 7, and probably even, you know, let's assume you didn't watch the first ever video of ASMR on day 1. So it was probably going ahead, you know, it's probably been happening a little bit earlier than that as well. That blows my mind a little bit. So when did you, you know, you got into it, you started watching it. When did you, I'm not expecting an exact date, but generally, when did you sort of decide, I'm going to give this a go?
Yeah, so I started the channel in 2014, April 2014, the 12th of April, actually. I can pinpoint it. 12th of April in 2014. It's sort of been around, the sort of ASMR sort of contest, really actually been around since as early as like 2010. But it didn't have the coinage of ASMR. It was just like, it was just this whispering video. And then that's sort of like what kind of started it. And then people got more involved in it, and then eventually this term was coined. And so I got into it, like I say, in sort of April 2014, because I used to make like generic sort of videos, like gaming videos and tech videos, but just obviously non-ASMR, just normally. So I had like the camera and the, you know, the equipment, so to speak. It's just a camcorder with the NAF inbuilt mic. I thought, yeah, give it a go. And yeah, first video. Back at the time, videos, like, you didn't really show your face in the video. It would sort of be like from your sort of, again, it sounds bizarre, but like from like your sort of like nose or mouth down. So yeah, so the first video, so I go back and sort of cringe looking at this sort of what was I, 16 when I started, and yeah, just started on this journey to be absolutely bullied relentlessly at school. So it was a great decision. I look back on it and with nothing but smiles.
Well, no, it was a great decision because it's obviously got really popular. How fast did it get popular? Was there a spell where there wasn't many people listening to it, or did it hit off straight away? Yeah,
so with ASMR itself, it hit just sort of like on a massive sort of growth spurt, and the same sort of thing happened with the channel. So throughout the history of the channel, so it's been like 7 years now, it's sort of had like peaks and troughs with sort of growth. But I think, fortunately, I think so when I started, I sort of hit at a relative sweet spot. Anyway, yeah. So basically, it meant I managed to sort of catch on a bit of a wave by just being one of the fewer channels, I suppose, around. Whereas now, obviously, it's really saturated, so growth can be quite difficult unless you're proper niche or, you know, bring something quite unique to it. So I managed to grow quite quickly. In the span of a few years. I remember hitting 1,000 subscribers really quickly, and that was like massive because I had channels in the past and they never really grown or anything. So it was really, the peak was actually when I was in my first year of university, sort of 2016, in halls and stuff for the first year, and that's when we grew by 4 to 5k a month, and then because my uploading pattern was like really quite erratic, it sort of leveled off, and then I returned to it, grew some more, and then I sort of took a year-long hiatus in 2018, where I just didn't upload, and you just had this baseline activity, and then in the past sort of year and a half started to pick it back up, and starting to grow. It's pretty cool.
But also, you talk about things being a niche. Do you get any sort of weird requests?
Oh yeah, so historically you used to get really sort of strange requests, because the thing with ASMR is there's this obviously sort of like sexual perceived element to it. There's something almost sort of like quite fetishized about it. And you do get content on there, ASMR content that is quite sort of leaning towards the sort of the more sort of fetishized sort of type of content. I think like quite famously, like lasses would do doing like really like low cut tops, or they'll do like swimwear or like lingerie of hauls or whatnot.
Have you not tried that yet?
No, I don't really look quite good in a G-string, so I've not really tried it.
You never know. Could bring a whole new audience, mate.
yeah, true. But that's what I mean. So there's these two sort of elements to sort of ASMR. You've got the sort of, you could say the standard ASMR, but you've also got this sort of sexualized element. So as you sort of grow and stuff, you do get bizarre requests, feet videos, just quite sort of, I think ask for a moaning video, stuff that you're like, oh, a bit cringe. Like, no, not really my cup of tea. I just want to chat about the new Mario Kart. But yeah, definitely you can definitely get some strange requests and stuff.
Yeah. And as I mentioned sort of before we started recording, one thing I didn't know about you was that you'd written a book. The Sleep Revolution, is it called?
Yeah, ASMR, the Sleep Revolution. So that was, again, what I think what's been really cool about the channel is the ability to try like different stuff. Not just like with sort of video content. At one point we had like an app which had like, custom videos on and stuff. And more recently we've gone into live streaming, but the big project that I did, which I absolutely loved, was this book, ASMR, the Sleep Revolution. So I've always sort of really wanted to have like a book in print, that I've written, because that's cool. And so back in, I think it published in 2017, self-published in 2017. I haven't got the power of Penguin behind me. So it's it's trying to sort of, at the time, it tried to capture what the current story was with ASMR and as a community. So it's a book in sort of two parts. There's the first part is more about the sort of the science behind, or the pseudoscience, really sort of trying to delve into what it actually is, what could it be, because it's still a grey area, what causes this reaction to certain audio stimuli. And then the second part of the book is more about the sort of social side about it, the sort of the online community and how that's sort of grown and stuff all about that. So yeah, it's really, at the time, it's just sort of meant to be a little sort of a compendium of the state of play at the time. But it was quite a fun thing to put together. I got to chat to loads of different people and put it together. But so one of the cooler things I've done with the channel.
Sounds good. I'll have to request it for Christmas.
I'll send you a signed copy, Sean.
Oh yes. That's what we need.
You could probably flog on eBay, probably for less than the RRP of the actual book, but never mind.
Yeah, well, I'll give it a go. And obviously, aside from ASMR, you've got a new thing going. I think launched, was it last week or the week before? You've launched a podcast with your mates. So what's that all about?
Yeah, so a couple of weeks ago, we launched the FLAAT Podcast. So that's FLAAT with two A's, which is a fun acronym because, again, just love wordplay. It stands for the Four Lads and a Topic Podcast. So it's a non-ASMR venture, which I was quite keen to sort of do. And it's basically, it's just me and three of my mates. And each week we take a different sort of topic, and for about 45 minutes to an hour, just sort of chat about it, really. A lot of it's just chatting a load of absolute shite. But yeah, that's been really quite fun to do. So it's like a 13-part season. We actually started recording at the start of the year, but we wanted to build up a bank of episodes before we actually launched, just in case 1 week you couldn't record or whatnot. So far, Dane lockdown loving. Bumbling through Tinder is out, so that's where the guys talk about their experiences with dating apps, Tinder and Bumble. Not sure how familiar you guys are with those apps.
Never use those. Don't know.
No, same, mate. Steer clear. But yeah, so basically just telling funny stories through that, and second episode was Apocalypse You. That was one of the more serious topics, but we just talk about the concept of overpopulation or underpopulation, depending on where you sit. And then, coming out, we've got a load of other sort of more sort of chiller sort of topics coming up. But yeah, it's just four lads chatting absolute crap and bantering for an hour.
Yeah, so it's going to be weekly from now, do you think? Is that your plan?
Yeah, so it releases weekly on Spotify and Apple playlists for 13 weeks. So episode 3 comes out very soon, and then running until the season finale. So it's been quite fun to do, and just seeing where that goes.
Yeah, Yeah, I did listen to the first episode. Thought it was quite good. It raised a few chuckles when I was again all part of the research.
Are all of the other co-hosts as clued up on spoken audio as yourself? Have they all got the technology? Because I've been fighting with Sean about this. Sean uses you can just see it poking into the screen. A little is it a Yeti or a blue little USB mic?
It's a blue Yeti. So
that's okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a. Yeah, no.
And it sounds good. It does sound good. I recently invested in a little SM7.
Ooh, very nice.
Which has treated me well. It's plugged into just a little Focusrite Scarlett thing. And you're the first guest that we've had on that I can really nerd out with this kind of stuff on, and someone who probably, or almost certainly, definitely knows more about it than me. So, because one thing I wanted to ask a little bit earlier when we were talking about ASMR, you said you started in 2014. Presumably the equipment you were using at the time wasn't great, and I know you said you cringed. You do cringe watching them back. I'm not sure if that was. Oh, I think you were alluding to the fact that it's because of the video quality and the fact that you're kind of nose down. But what about the audio? Is the audio significantly better now? I mean, just listening, it doesn't take a genius to know that you're clearly using a high quality microphone just based on the audio quality. Now, in comparison to how it was 7 years ago when you first started, what's the difference? And how much easier is it for you to produce videos now?
Yeah, so over the course of the channel, there's sort of been different sort of audio used. So when I started, I just used the inbuilt microphone of the camcorder I had. I actually can't remember what the camcorder was. So that was fine at the time, because at the time it was like there wasn't many standards in terms of sort of the quality of an ASMR video. Everyone was kind of just sort of like making up as they go along. But obviously the problem with using an inbuilt microphone is the amount of white noise and sort of noise you get with the sort of the actual sort of audio quality. I then sort of moved to a Rode Video Mic Pro, so like a shotgun microphone that I attached to when I upgraded the equipment again to like a Canon 600D. And that was really cool for a time because the audio was clearer. But the only problem was, and why I ended up sort of selling it, was the problem was with the Canon, because it sort of limited to only recording in 12-minute clips, because it's technically sold as a digital camera rather than a video recorder. It's for tax reasons, it's sort of clipped at sort of 12 minutes, which with ASMR videos, they tend to be quite long in length. Obviously they vary, but you can have videos up to multiple hours long, but typically around 20 to 30 minutes. So I then basically got a camcorder that could obviously record the time, but got a Blue Yeti. So Blue Yeti is what I record most of my audio with. But for me, it was getting my head around, having the two separate sort of inputs. Really, you've got the video feed coming in, and then obviously having to align the audio track. And Blue Yeti really is what I've used ever since. I think it's quite a solid for the price range. It's quite a clear audio. Unless you're doing it with your phone as well, it's incredible, like the video quality and the audio quality from your phone. But as you can imagine, audio and microphones are obviously like a big thing with ASMR when it's quite, by and large, quite an auditory type of content. Because you get these microphones, which are like hundreds of pounds. So some I think going to the thousands. It's called like a 3DO. I don't know if you're sort of familiar with it, but it's basically like a bar with two ears at the end of it, and it basically sort of records pretty much what you kind of like hear, or it's really quite intense. And so if you type in ASMR 3DO, you get all these like quite creative and pretty mad videos. But I tend to try to keep it as simple as possible in my production. I want to be able to just sort of set up, shoot, and then Bob's your uncle.
Well,
I like it.
Talking a completely different language to me. However, a nice segue is one language I do understand is Mancunian, which is where you've just moved to, Ben.
Yes.
What brings you here?
Work, really. Occupational. reasons, which is, I suppose, as good as any. Freshly new to Manchester, been here for coming on sort of 9 months now. Obviously, being up from Carlisle, I'm fairly sort of northern anyway, so it wasn't too much of a culture shock. But so I suppose Manchester's like the sort of the London of the North. But yeah, no, it's been really good, really. But it's all been really working from home, which has been good in terms of not having to commute. Also, work from home is just generally a bit better. Your sort of day is more melded to what you could fit more stuff in, really. And obviously, it's great from like a content creation point of view, because it means lunchtime you can just bash out a cheeky video, and then just maximum efficiency and productivity. But yeah, it's I'm enjoying the city so far. I can't complain.
Well, I
went to Carlisle once for a week with my dad on work experience when I was 16. And the one thing I remember from Carlisle, the two things were, one, the Premier Inn was nice, and
Lenny.
Two, I've never seen rain like it for the entire week. And I don't know whether that's a fair reflection of Carlisle, and maybe you can confirm, but all I remember from that week is just the heaviest rain that just was relentless and never stopped. And to be fair, I think we were doing a rewire in a conservatory. I was outside a lot, so that probably didn't help. I was obviously noticing it more.
Well, thankfully he's moved to Manchester, so he's going to avoid that from now on.
No, I know that. I was listening. My internet is not that bad.
No. I mean, he was getting away from the rain.
Managed to escape that to the tropical city of Manchester, where it's nothing but sunny rays. It has been out recently. But yeah, I think in terms of Carlisle, we are very proud of our Premier Inn. We wear it on our chest with pride. But yeah, Carlisle, it can be wet and rainy, but it's a cracking city. If you want to go there for a day out, it's got a cathedral, it's got a museum, it's got 2 Weatherspoons pretty much next to each other, so your quid's in, literally.
Oh, sorted then. Yeah,
you are sorted. Yeah. And I
did not know Carlisle was a city until a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if you watch or listen to Jack Mate and his podcast.
Yes, yeah.
But he recently uploaded a video where he visited all 51 cities in England, and I would have told you England had about 5 cities. So
yeah. I remember sort of scrubbing through that, where trying to get to the bit in Carlisle. I didn't know where he put the ticket, and I was like, "Oh, that's cool." But actually, funny you say, like, yeah, it's technically a city because it's got a cathedral, which used to be the sort of like the historical basis of the city. It's also the largest city in England by landmass. So that's a fun fact. Yeah.
Is that because of the hills and stuff?
It's because there's a shite load of farmland incorporated in the boundary. Yeah. So but any other metric, no chance. Landmass, we're topping the table. We're topping that table. But cracking.
I wonder, as someone from Carlisle, and I wonder this partially because I'm responsible for being on the other side of this. If you go out and talk to strangers who find out you're from Carlisle, do you ever get I was born in Carlisle, but I was made in the Royal Navy?
Yeah, but it's bizarre because they hired a Geordie to do it, so it doesn't really make much sense. But you say, especially when that was in its full height. Fortunately, they ended up then became sort of an advert series, so they started picking on other places. So it's managed to die down a little bit. But that always used to get that at uni, and when I started work, I was like, Lord.
So was Carlisle the original? Was that the original for those Royal Navy adverts? I didn't realise that. I couldn't have told you that either.
Yeah, I was on for years, wasn't it?
Yeah, I remember trying to Google the pub that the bloke apparently sort of worked in, and I couldn't find it. And I was like, you start pulling at the thread, and you soon realise it's all a lie, apart from Carlisle. So,
put you on the map. Oh, it's a great little.
Yeah, that and Premier Inn. That's what this city's about, Royal Navy and the Premier Inn.
Yeah. So we'll move on to the theme of the podcast, which I mentioned earlier that we've watched The Strokes together, so you definitely have some musical knowledge.
I did not enjoy that, but yes, I was technically there. I did not enjoy it. I just didn't really. I don't really know the Strokes, so I just came along for the vibes.
Yeah, well, they were good vibes. You couldn't really hear them at times, could you, as well? It was a bit of a strange gig. But I am intrigued as to who you're going to pick as your fantasy pints. But before you tell us your first one, I want you to describe the setting of where you're imagining these drinks taking place.
Well, I was sort of thinking long and hard when you sort of gave us the parameters of this, and I just threw it out the window and would think, where would I like to go for a pint? Because if I can't enjoy where I'm having a pint, there's no point them being there, because it just wouldn't be a good time. I would like coming from, quite a small, quaint village in Carlisle, a country pub, a nice country pub, dark oak interior, roaring fire, and busty bar wenches. No, not that bit, but you know what I mean. That sort of classic sort of country feel.
Like proper chips, like good.
Yeah, big thick cut chips. Real ales. As far as the eye can see. That sort of environment.
Yeah. Who's your first guest at the country pub?
Well, the first guest, I should caveat this with, whilst I do like music, I'm not, I think you'd be able to safely say, Sean, from my experience at that festival, I'm not a music connoisseur. You can almost say I've got a basic sort of Fiat 500 sort of approach to sort of music. So my first one would be, as he was such a big part of my adolescence, it would be Eminem.
Oh, yes.
Eminem would be.
I like that.
Oh, caught me off guard with that one.
Yeah.
That's a good pick. Now, given that you've mentioned Eminem, we should lay down the ground rules now, because you might want to be cautious about who you pick next. All your guests are going to be in the same room at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to have all three of your guests at the table with you.
Fortunately, I have tried to sort of factor that in. But
so Eminem, you're a big Eminem fan then?
Yeah, loved it. Loved him. Especially his sort of early stuff, which for me was like Recovery in 2012. I remember because I got into it when I was sort of like 12, 13, and I just it sort of fostered my love of words and how you can bend them for fun verses. And I remember someone asking me when I was a kid, what your favorite album was, and I said Curtain Call, not realizing that's a cardinal sin because it's technically a best of album, and apparently that doesn't count. So,
No.
but yeah, and then
but yeah, no, that's fair enough. I didn't know that it was a greatest hits album. I'm not the biggest Eminem fan.
You should listen to it. It's fantastic. It's just Lose Yourself. It's an absolute banger.
I've probably heard all the songs on it, to be fair. Just never delved. I think I've listened to about 2 Eminem albums.
I think you would know all, if not definitely the vast majority of the songs on Curtain Call.
Well, they are his best songs. That's the beauty of the
greatest song.
The album. I was just going to say, so again, what sort of really sort of ingrained sort of Eminem in my sort of childhood was when I was 14, I did my school had like this music talent contest. And for some reason, falling in love with Eminem gave me this sort of great boost of confidence in myself. It was misplaced because I then decided to perform for the school a karaoke rendition of Lose Yourself. And boy, did I lose myself because it was an absolute nightmare. So in front of the whole school doing this karaoke, I couldn't keep up with the words. My mouth was dry. And so it got to the chorus and I just started waving my arms at the chorus as if I was in some sort of urban environment instead of a very white middle class sort of place. So
yeah, well, it's funny you should say that because there is one man I know that could definitely rap Lose Yourself from start to finish, and he happens to be in this call. Not going to ask you to do it, James, but instead we'll find out who's sitting next to Eminem and the ASMR gamer.
Well, bit of a change of tact and yet linked. I would go as my second guest. It would be Sir Elton John.
Yes.
Okay.
I love Elton John.
I like it. Yeah.
Because Elton John and Eminem are actually friends, so already it's a great vibe we've got going on.
Yes. I didn't
Done his
I didn't actually
research.
know they were
I like it. Yeah.
No, we've been listening to a lot of Elton John. One of my mates has just finally watched Rocket Man, and now he's
Good film.
obsessed.
I was just going to ask you if you have you watched it.
I have, yeah, very, very enjoyable.
Yeah, it's a good film.
What's your favourite Elton John song?
There's only one answer.
See, I would say Your Song or Tiny Dancer.
The right answer is Crocodile Rock, but
I remember when a rock was young.
yeah. But I didn't know Elton John and Eminem were friends.
Yeah, because it came about. So when back in the early noughties, sort of when Eminem was getting like a lot of hate for being like a lot of homophobic slurs in his songs, and sort of Elton John just came out and went, "He's not homophobic." And then they then performed.
I thought he was in the room then.
they then performed Stand together. Typically the original obviously with Dido. But he did one with Elton John, and arguably the better version. And so there was this big thing where they sort of performed on stage together, and homophobia was ended around the world.
Well, all I'm saying now is as soon as Manchester reopens properly and the K2 Chinese karaoke reopens, then I expect you to be performing an Elton classic.
We'll be going, mate. We'll be going for sure.
Yep. And we may as well go the whole hog. We have asked people before what they think the guests will be drinking, haven't we? So what drinks are on the table so far? By the way, before you say this, I've heard, which completely goes against your character, that one of your favourite drinks is Foster's. Is that true?
I love Foster's. It's a cracking lager. It's lager snobbery.
No.
If you but the thing is, right, if you enjoy a Foster's, there's so many better lagers. Like if you like a Foster's, that generally means you like the taste of lager. So
no.
go for something premium. Try something. There's better drinks. There's better drinks out there, mate. I promise you.
Wrong. So Foster's across many different benchmarks is a fantastic, bang for your buck lager. So cost-wise, it's cost efficient without being the proper dregs of cheap lager. Your Becks, your Budweisers, almost your Carlings. Although I did actually drink Carling for a couple of years.
Becks and Budweisers are far nicer than Foster's.
Again, wrong. So Foster's, it's just a great time. It's fizzy. It's got some false Australian connotations to it. So you're feeling metropolitan, international almost in your bev choice. And I just think it's a solid staple session lager. I do enjoy more expensive premium lagers. Your Birra Moretti's, your Stellas, your San Miguel's. But I just think if you're in it for the long haul and you're looking to save the pennies, have a Foster's, you're not going to be disappointed. You know where you stand.
Yeah.
But what about like a Carlsberg Export? That's a good lager.
See, I actually think that's naff. See, I'm not a big fan of Carlsberg anyway, and I actually don't think the Carlsberg Exports. Oh God, I can't speak. I got the two mixed up. I've had too many Fosters. I wish. It cost me nothing. But I just it's bizarre. It's just because of my friend group at school as well. All those lads from school just have Fosters, and it's just one of those.
I don't blame you for drinking it at school, like in those days. Like, but when you sort of grow your taste, then surely you leave Fosters behind.
The different brands that you used to see, the tins that people would bring to house parties when you were 50. What was that cider that people used to... Gamers? Is it Gamers or Gainers?
I started on Strongbow. I remember that. And
it was a horrendous cider that people used to bring all the time. It just genuinely tasted like piss.
Yeah, I tactically learned to bring Carling Black Label to parties because I once brought Copperberg, nice fruity cider when I was like 16 to a party, and I came to get another can, and I saw a thief in the night trying to ratchet in the bag to take one of my prime cans. And so I learned from that point, if I bring Carling Black Label, no one is touching it. And so it was a safe investment. So.
I remember very vividly a party at Sean's house, actually, Sean's mum and dad's house, where a gentleman in our friendship group brought some form of fruity cider variety and received some stick all night to the effect of you must sit down to piss.
Yeah. I'm familiar with those slurs.
Anyway, what are the other two drinks on the table then? Now we've got over the Foster's gate.
Well, first of all, I would treat them all to a Foster's as being a gracious host. I would invite them to enjoy a nice cold, crisp lager with me. I think Eminem, he's kind of got that sort of quite stoic vibe, quite a sort of hard sort of edge. So for some reason, I think he'd just have a whiskey or a bourbon. I think he'd just be there, just sort of sipping away on that. Might get him to try Blue Wicked, because I just think that'd be an experience for anyone not from the UK. You know, guzzler Blue Wicked. Yeah. Elton, hard to say.
Flamboyant character, isn't he?
Well, I was going to say fruity, but I didn't want that to come across as misinterpreted.
I think it's got to be some kind of cocktail.
I was going pina colada.
Yeah, any man who dresses in those costumes. What did he used to wear? There was the iconic costume with what was it?
With all the feathers and stuff.
Yeah, the feathers costume. Anyone who wears that, I think, is drinking something where it comes to the table and it looks. Everyone stops.
They're not going to be sat there with a pint of Guinness, are they?
Foster's.
Yeah, well, yeah, fair.
Yeah.
Okay, so far we've got Eminem drinking some kind of whiskey and a Blue Wicked. We've got Elton on probably a pina colada, and we've got you drinking 3 pints of Foster's after Eminem and Elton inevitably politely refuse.
And that's their loss. I can't cover for their ignorance. I've just got to, I can only offer so much.
Who else have we got with us?
So the third and final guest would be Michael Bolton. Michael Bolton, big fan of Michael Bolton. I was meant to see him live before, obviously, like COVID hit. I was going with my mum. Because again, I can't tell if you can tell, I'm quite a cool character. So I was going to see Michael Bolton with my mum. But yeah,
the first thing I think of when I think of Michael Bolton is the Lonely Island song.
Yeah, Jack Sparrow, yeah. The Island Tortuga.
Yeah, yes. So, has this gig been rearranged? Then are you going? I
don't think so. Apparently, I need to touch base with my mum and find out what the deal is, because I don't want to miss Michael of Bolton. Because my mum and dad have actually been to a Michael Bolton concert a couple of years back, and apparently it's chaos. Apparently, apparently Steel Bars comes on, and basically just all the women just flood. These middle-aged elderly women just flood to the front of the stage, just going berserk really at this silver-haired, but silver-tongued stallion.
You'll be right in amongst it.
Yeah, he loves it. He can't get enough.
So Michael Bolton, I don't know much about him, but is he going to get on with the two friends over there, Eminem and Elton?
I think they all bring a sort of. I think if Eminem and Elton are getting on, I think Michael, as knowing him as I do, would get on with Elton, and therefore by proxy, I imagine Elton would be able to sort of coax him into getting on with Marshall Mathers III. So I think it'd actually be quite a fun quad pub session.
Yeah, and you've got your quad Fosters after he's just turned it down. So what are you getting him instead?
Yeah, it's a nightmare. It's at the point now where it's actually too big to carry with two hands. It's sort of like that. You know how you can get like 3 pint glasses comfortably in a triangle in your hands, but a fourth, you're playing with fire.
It's got to be fingers in the pint situation if there's no tray available.
Exactly, so it's a nightmare because it's got quite shallow heads on it. It means your fingers in the lager, you're getting sticky fingers. So I think he strikes me as I don't think he'd have an alcoholic drink. I think he'd go for something soft. Don't know why, but I think it's like a Capri Sun or a J2O. J2O, you're more likely to get them in a pub, aren't you? A J2O, but you'd get like a fancy one. You know, the one with the sort of like the limited edition ones, where it's like you get the gold flakes in the J2O.
Yeah, I think the Christmas ones.
Yeah, the Christmas ones, the flakes in. Yeah, he'd get that, but he'd be able to get it all year round because he's Michael Bolton. So he doesn't.
Don't get that in Wigan. You do not get that in Wigan.
No,
I'll tell you that now.
I'll be trying to drain the gold flakes out, thinking it's real gold.
I think that does happen. Something along those lines.
I'm enjoying this delve into the fantasy mind of Ben Nichols. I think they were good choices. But so on a final note, what does 2021 have in store for Ben Nichols?
Oh, what does 2020, the rest of 2021 have in store? Well, I actually need to find a new gaff. My tenancy is coming up. So the first one is new accommodation. So exciting. Right. I'm sure the listeners are like, oh, this is some hot info. If anyone's looking for a roommate in the Manchester area, do let me know.
Tell you what, I might know a couple of people. Not a couple, like a couple of different.
I was going to say, I don't. I'm not into swingers. You know, fine if you are.
He's in the bowl.
Apparently, also, if you put a pineapple upside down in your shopping trolley, that's also meant to be like a beacon for swingers. Apparently, don't ask how I know.
I'll try that one, and I'll report back.
Yeah, try a big Tesco, see how you get on. But apart from that, just sort of crack it on, really. More now everything's starting to open up, really sort of to get a real sort of enjoy the beauty of the city and explore everything it's got to offer after, being cramped up for so long. So yeah, nothing really too major. Just keep on pushing the pod, the channel and all that stuff, and just keep on keeping on.
Keeping on. We'll have to introduce you to all the indie nightclub delights once they reopen next month.
Yes, I love Blossoms and the Foals and
the Foals
and the Magic Gang.
Oh yes, we are watching the Magic Gang together, aren't we?
Yeah, in October. Can't wait. Yeah, I still need to get those t-shirts done.
I was going to say for anyone that didn't know, but obviously no one would know. We got Magic Gang tickets. Ben cropped our faces onto the Magic Gang and put it as the group photo and called us the Magic Boys.
I like it.
We are the Magic Boys. Although then someone added and invited a fifth person and kind of ruined it. Lovely bloke who was added, but it does ruin the balance. But I've not held that against anyone.
That's Adam Lee James, by the way.
I thought it might be, to be honest. Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure Adam won't be offended.
Adam Lee is an avid listener of the pod as well.
The t-shirt.
I can't wait, Adam, if you're listening. I'll try and figure out how I can sort of crop you on, but it will be harder. Just so you know.
Just have him coming out the side, like just popping.
Oh, good. Maybe just sort of like first shop a guitar in and he can sort of be the Freds. I don't know. We'll have to brainstorm. But that'll be good
to see the t-shirts. And obviously, if anyone else is going to the Magic Gang who are listening to this, they can look out for the Magic Boys at the Ritz.
We will be selling t-shirts outside.
Yeah, we're not going in.
It's just a merch push.
But thanks very much for coming on, Ben. Just before you go, what's all your socials and what's the YouTube account, the ASMR Gamer? Is that all you need to search?
Yeah, so on YouTube, the ASMR Gamer will get you to where you need to go. The podcast is the FLAAT Podcast, just the FLAAT with 2 A's podcast, and Instagram is Benjamin Nichols 1998. You can find all the relevant info there if you so wish. But anyways, apart from that, it's been really great to be on, so I really appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
No worries, thank you.
Thanks for coming on, mate. Thanks for your time. It's been a good one, and you have just got yourself another listener to the Four Lads and the Topic podcast. I'm looking forward to getting myself involved in that and listening to the first 2 episodes, and I'll be eagerly awaiting the third as well.
Fantastic, thank you.
Nice little plug. Oh, and also the Sleep Revolution book is on everyone's Christmas list.
You can find that. You can find that on Amazon.
Sean, we won't put Ben out asking for 2 signed copies. So when you're finished reading it, if you could pass it on to me.
Mine's going straight on eBay.
Times are tough.
Yeah, but no, thanks very much. And yes, it's been a good one.
Yeah.
Yes, so that was the podcast with the ASMR gamer, Ben Nichols. He's quite the character, would you agree?
What a man. Yeah, he's a funny guy. It's the first time I've spoken to him, as is the case with most of these guests. But I'm sure, more so than some of the other guests that we've had on, I'm sure I will at some point cross paths with him again in the future, and I look forward to doing so, although I'm not too keen on the idea of a pint of Foster's. Will be a cheap round, but
we can go to his grand book signing. It's obviously going to be, as we said, hot on the Christmas lists this year. But yeah, no, that was a brilliant one with Ben. Next week we've got a voice actor impressionist, Schaefer Bates, on the podcast.
Yeah. An exciting episode. We have recorded this already. I've listened through it, and it's a fantastic one. It's not one to miss. Unfortunately, I did miss the pod. So you'll see me in the intro and outro, but I was not available for the recording, which I am incredibly disappointed about. But these things happen.
Yeah. And the other thing about next week's podcast is it will be after your stag do, which is this Friday. So could have some interesting stories. We'll see.
Yeah, so we're going to record the intro and outro for the Schaefer pod sometime next week. And there will be some interesting stories, I would imagine. Stick around for that one. Sean, where can people find us on social media?
Twitter at Northern Chorus _, Facebook Northern Chorus UK, Instagram Northern Chorus.
See you next week. Thank you.